On a cold December night in 2009, a woman vanished from her home in Utah. Her name was Susan Powell. She was 28 years old, a mother of 2 young boys, a wife, and she was afraid. Susan lived in West Valley City with her husband, Josh Powell, and their sons, Charlie and Braden. To outsiders, they looked like a normal family. But behind closed doors, Susan's life was unraveling. In her private journal, she wrote chilling words: "If I die, it may not be an accident." Susan documented her fears. Her marriage was deteriorating. Josh was controlling, distant, and increasingly strange. On the night of December 6th, Susan disappeared. Josh told police he had taken the boys on a late-night camping trip in freezing temperatures. Susan, he said, had stayed home. The story immediately raised alarms. Camping in the middle of the night, in winter, with 2 small children. Police searched the home. They found signs of cleaning, but no sign of Susan. Josh became the prime suspect. He refused to cooperate fully. He failed a polygraph test, and he showed no concern about finding his wife. Still, there was no body. Without physical evidence, police were stuck. Susan Powell was officially listed as a missing person, but everyone feared the worst. As the investigation deepened, another disturbing figure emerged: Josh's father, Stephen Powell. Stephen was obsessed with Susan. He wrote songs about her, took secret photos of her, and kept journals describing his fixation. Police began to believe Susan had been surrounded by danger from more than one direction. Josh and the boys eventually moved to Washington State. Susan was never found. Years passed. Then, in 2012, the case took a horrifying turn. Josh Powell was allowed supervised visitation with his 2 sons. A social worker dropped them off at his home. Minutes later, screams were heard. Josh attacked his children and set the house on fire, killing them and himself. The nation watched in shock. 2 innocent boys were gone, and any remaining hope of learning Susan's fate died with Josh. Investigators later concluded Susan had been murdered shortly after her disappearance. Though her body was never recovered, the evidence pointed overwhelmingly to Josh Powell. Susan Powell's case became a symbol of systemic failure. Warnings were missed. Red flags were ignored. Decisions meant to protect children instead placed them in danger. Susan left behind journals, videos, and letters proof that she knew something terrible might happen, and she was right. Today, Susan Powell remains missing. Her family continues to search for answers. Her story continues to raise painful questions. How do you protect someone when the threat comes from inside the home? How many warnings are enough? And why is it sometimes so hard for the system to act before it's too late? Susan Powell wanted one thing above all else: to keep her children safe. Her disappearance, the tragedy that followed, remain one of the most haunting true crime cases in American history. A reminder that listening to victims can mean the difference between life and death.